Glad that you all came to celebrate Esther's life with us. And I wanted to say just really briefly that a lot of people have been asking us what they could do for us, and you're doing it. You're loving us, talking to us about Esther. Keep us in your lives and keep talking to us. If we call you up on the phone, lend us an ear. Okay, but I'm so glad to see everybody. The love and support has been fabulous, and thank you. I love you all.
Thank you, Sonia and Esther's family, for your generosity. Josh Groban sings, "When I am down, and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to be more than I can be." Esther raised me up. If you're in this room, she raised you up. She raised everyone up, even if she didn't know them. There are many words to describe Esther, and I know all of you have a word or words or phrases that are Esther inspired. Amazing, beautiful, courageous, determined. Don't worry, I'm not going all the way to Z. Compassionate. Lina, her niece, said she was a champion for humanity. Dancing was one of Esther's passions, and we had a good time dancing to Tom Campbell at the Unity Club a time or two. And tonight is your night to dance on the stage at the Wilma, if that's been a secret desire all your life. Fabulous. I think in a word we can all agree, fabulous would describe our Esther. Generous, good. I think goodness was in Esther's DNA. Gorgeous? My God, the curls, the curves, even without them, she could drop jaws and make heads turn. I know all of you have words or a word or phrases that remind you of Esther, and maybe they're Isabella inspired. Love, loving, lovely, and light all make me think of Esther. We all know that mothering Isabella was the most important job in her life, and she tackled that every day, 100%. It was the most important job she had. Esther was a queen. I believe that. She was a queen of many things, but she was certainly a queen of Arbonne, a recycling queen, and a queen in the kitchen. She was resilient, tough, strong. If you knew Esther for very long, you knew that she was tough. I know that some of you know how tough, more than some of us. We're not going to leave out sassy, sweet, sexy, or smart. Esther was vivacious to the end, and I loved her vivaciousness and her wit. She got me, and I got her, and I know everyone in this room can say the same thing. The words to describe Esther reach far beyond this short list. I just picked these as some of my favorites. Combined, though, and with others of your own, I think the essence of Esther's energy can be captured. Gandhi says, "Be the change you want to be in the world," and Esther did that. She raised us up, and her legacy is each of us continuing to raise others up. My invitation to you today, pick your Esther-inspired words or phrases, and be the Esther you would like to be in the world.
So one morning, shortly after Esther died, I was doing, as usual, my morning thing, getting ready for the day, standing in front of my bathroom sink. I reach over and I grab my moisturizer after I wash my face, and I start dabbing it ever so carefully and specifically, just as Esther had taught me. And then I ever so gently rub is not quite the right word, it into my skin. And then I look at the container and I realize that I'm almost done, and I feel sad. And I ask myself, what am I going to do without Esther? And so I proceed getting ready, and I grab the body lotion and I start putting lotion all over my arms and my belly and my neck. She says, very important for the neck. And then down my legs and even my feet. and I'm covered, and I stop, and I laugh out loud. I grab the deodorant stick that Esther insisted that I have because of all of its qualities. And I put it under my armpit and I laugh again out loud at the thought that Esther is all over me. And if you have Esther on your body in any way right now, raise your hand. So what really brings us together, what we really have in common, is that Esther is not just on our skin, but Esther is deep, deep in our hearts. And Isabella, where are you? You were there.
She's over here.
Over there now. Okay. Hi. Isabella, I want you to know how many people have your mom in their hearts. So let's all show her and raise your hands if your life has been touched by her mom. Look around, Isabella. Yeah. Welcome, everyone.
Wow. In the beginning, in the wee hours of 1964, the idea, the spark, the light of Esther Ann Irene Chessin was created. Her sister came into the world calmly and eyes open. From those first days and months, Esther was a source of energy that drew one in, and she radiated back a nurturing glow. Remarkably comfortable with all those around her, she honed her social skills with the embrace of family and community. Her ability to reach out to extended family, classmates, community, and even thirsty passers-by was both innate and actively pursued. Let me give one small example. At the age of 6, our family went to Bucharest, Romania for a 5-month visit. On the first full day, Esther ventured out of the house and onto the sidewalk to engage with local kids. Within minutes, just 3 words were all she needed to join fully in whatever street game was happening. Da, nu, and asha, like so. Missoula, Montana, and the world were her oyster, and she was an oitzer, Yiddish for treasure. Her brief and full 53 years were filled with friends, soulmates, and fellow journeymen, whether it was teachers, students, tennis rivals, cheerleaders, artists of all stripes, business partners, or healthy lifestyle sojourners. She spanned many cultures and environments with ease. Travel here and abroad, kitchens and cuisines, the intense and the sublime, musical tastes of all sorts. Her Missoula and Jewish roots served her well. Esther was a force for good. She overcame the obvious and not so obvious challenges with grace. I would like to share a part of a song that expresses a bitter look at the world, but is done with such care and beauty that it brings Esther to mind. Lume, lume, listen up, world, sister world. Life can be really lousy. One dies, but another life begins. Listen to the song Lume Lume and the rhythm of the heartbeat. The inner and outer Esther, the surface and deeper person, were both known and unknown to us. Let me explore this with you for a minute by looking at her name. She could not be captured by three names. Try four: Esther, Anne, Irene, Chessin. Meanings and connections for the name Esther richly reward our beloved. Esther is a Persian name. In Persian, the name Ishtar might mean star and may well be a derivation of the Near East goddess by the same name. Esther is the name given to the heroine of the Purim story found in the biblical book of Esther. This is a painting by John Millay of Esther, the queen. Esther saved her Jewish community from the waffling and misogynist king Ahasuerus, probably Xerxes I, and the evil Haman. Queen Esther also had a Jewish name, Hadassah, representing the myrtle tree. The connection is the myrtle tree has a pleasant fragrance and is associated with righteous individuals. The shape of the myrtle leaf is beautiful, or even seductive, like the shape of a beautiful woman's eyes. While Hadassah represents righteousness, Esther in Hebrew means hiddenness and has been interpreted to mean hidden godliness. Interestingly, the name God is not mentioned explicitly in the book of Esther. One rabbi wrote, Hadassah was the name of Queen Esther, who was not afraid to live among non-Jews and must be proud of her inheritance to show an example of how to live every day in the same direction with happiness and much success. Esther's life is represented by important elements from the past couple of decades. In my mind, there is something very symbolic about being a baker. At the root of baked goods are pleasant sustenance and leavening. Esther was definitely a leavener, and Medea Mazulian started out the day with a fine pastry and strong coffee. She uplifted those who worked with her and gave voice to local artists. Pardon my play on words, we all know that it takes a village to raise a child. I say it takes an Esther to raise a village. Esther was strongly committed to not only sustenance, but to whole body health. She fought valiantly and successfully for her own health when a wheat allergy put up a huge challenge over several years in the bakery. She studied hard and challenged the medical world to find ways to keep daughter Isabella and herself healthy through food, exercise, yoga, and emotional support. She made it her business to educate and sell products that she fervently knew were health-giving. The response to Esther's life has been awe-inspiring. Just look at this gathering today. My family and I cannot thank the friends, this community, and the relatives enough for the outpouring of love and support we have received over the past weeks. Esther is and will continue to be missed, and we know that all she was and did has made our community that much stronger and healthier. Thank you.
Many of you have received a letter from Esther at some point in your life, or if not a letter, maybe a list of things to do from her. There's going to come a slide up here that will have a letter from Esther that was written to me in 1983, and I just wanted you to see it and remember her. There she is. Yeah. So she was, remember when we used to write letters? She was a master letter writer. She informed me of hundreds of things within 3 pages of what was going on in our home community. So speaking of letters, I'm going to be the voice of a friend of hers and read a letter to you. Esther has many, many friends. There is one who cannot physically be standing here today. She lives in Portland, Oregon, raising her 11-year-old son as a single parent. She is a friend who had this crazy, perfect, regular, intimate friendship with Esther. Her name is Kim Hayden. She and Esther had spoken and texted nearly every day for years through their mothering and parenting joys and struggles. Today I'm giving that voice to her letter, to her words. Kim writes, I'm here today in spirit to share about a friend. From the tween challenges of our children to the single parent path to life and death talks, we were on a trail of life together. My son Gabriel always hugged extra long when she hugged Esther. Or maybe she was hugging him extra long. Gabe told me, Mom, I know why you and Esther are such good friends. Esther and I had great memories and moments with Isabella and Gabriel. And oh, how Esther was a blessed mom. The Saturday before Esther left us, I was in Missoula. We walked with Isa along Rattlesnake Creek and talked about life while Isa petted every dog in sight. We told Isa how we had been friends since we were her age. We talked about parenting, family, friends, Michael Franti, and about cancer. Although I'm a physician and had researched Esther's treatment from her initial diagnosis, I never believed the statistics. Her love and soul were so great, and my love for her so great, that I just knew she would be okay. We walked back from the creek, arms around Isabella and each other. We hugged, kissed, and said, see you next time. The plan was to meet at the cribbage log we found in the woods near the creek. Some of you may know there's a log with a cribbage board carved into it at the Rattlesnake. I'm thankful she did not suffer long. I'm thankful we said a true love goodbye. I know there's a mix of Esther's community and family here today. I hope you find hope and love in the comfort of each other, as Esther would have wanted. I have been looped into the planning text messages for this celebration today. Such a tribute of gratitude and love. Authentic is the word for my friend. I could always count on her to tell me the things I didn't want to hear. About 2 years ago, I was really struggling with my job. When I finally brought it up to Esther, she swore at me about how I was not telling her what was going on with me. She made it absolutely clear that cancer did not define her, and that her love for me was way stronger than cancer. Esther told me, "I'm always your friend, and I'm always capable of loving and listening." We talked on the phone most chemo days. I would call her on my commute, and she would need to go. We weren't good at small talk. All of our talks had bigness. I found my 1982 Hellgate High School yearbook. In it is a 5-page entry in that wonderful curly swirly Esther handwriting. And rereading it, I remembered why I always hid that yearbook from my parents. There are some G-rated poignant parts. Her entry starts out, "This is so unreal, huh? The end of a fun, childish, rowdy, sad, crying, laughing life." Then Esther writes, "Shit. I feel so sentimental. All the faces of people I love just make me want to hold each and every one of them and never let go. You know how much I love people. And now to you, Kim, how I love you." We were 18 years old. I was about to leave for Oregon, and Esther was leaving for Hawaii. Esther's last entry in that yearbook was, "But there must come an end, unfortunately, and we must go our separate ways. We may separate in body, but in heart and soul, you will be with me till the day I die." Kim completes her letter to us today with, "My dear friend and God-sent mother of Isabel, you are lifted up in a warm and loving celebration of you. You remain in my heart always."
And I'll always be proud to be your everybody. I'm really happy to have these here because, as some of you in the crowd know, I'm a prolific weeper. So let's see how I do here today. I've been asked to reflect on the Bernice's Bakery chapter of Esther's life, where we worked together for 10 years. But we actually go back a little further than that. I met Esther when I first moved to Missoula in the early 80s, and we were both working at the Rocking Horse restaurant in what is now the Mustard Seat at the mall. Esther was a bubbly 20-year-old then, newly back from a stint in France, where I believe her love of coffee and fine pastries took hold. We worked together again several years later at Planned Parenthood when she joined the team as a social work intern through the University of Montana. It was Esther who confirmed for me that I was to become a mother for the first time. That was a special moment we shared and reflected on all throughout our friendship. Esther was a compassionate, loving, strong person, excellent qualities for a social worker, but she decided to show her love in a different way. Shortly after graduating from UM, Esther was looking at moving to Bozeman to open up a coffee shop, something akin to Bernice's, which was sorely lacking in Bozeman at the time. Then she got wind that her favorite hometown bakery was for sale, and the decision was made to stay and become the next steward of a Missoula icon. When Esther took over the bakery in the early 90s, it was a corner store, and I mean a tiny corner store. On a Saturday, there were maximum 5 customers inside, and the rest of us stood in a line that stretched down the block towards Higgins Avenue, sometimes making it to the bridge. Even though there was no seating except for a few benches outside, it was a meeting place. Missoulians from all walks of life would socialize while in line to get their treats and coffee before heading out to the rivers and hills or home for Saturday chores. But Esther had a grander idea. You see, Esther loved to feed people. Her idea was to bring us all inside her bakery and inside her heart. It was Esther who expanded the bakery to the storefront it is today. Rather than getting their food and leaving, her customers would grab a chair and chat through 1, 2, maybe even 3 cups of coffee. It became a place for students to meet and share ideas in the afternoon. Parents would pick up their children from school and bring them in for a sweet treat. And couples on dates would stop in for a piece of cake after the movies and perhaps ultimately order their wedding cake from the bakery. Bernice's had always been Missoula's favorite bakery, but Esther made it one of Missoula's favorite meeting places. Esther not only showed her love by feeding us all, she was also a great boss. I began working for Esther shortly after she bought the business. With the expansion of the bakery, the staff grew from a couple of bakers and customer service folks to a team of nearly 30. That's a lot for one person to manage, but Esther brought her best self to the job. She made time for each and every one of us, whether our issues were work-related or personal. And being a staff of young folks, we had plenty of those. When you met with Esther, you really felt you had her whole attention. There was nothing more important for her to be doing than listening to you, even though in reality, her list of to-dos was enormous. The years we spent growing into the expanded space of the bakery were a crazy time, but Esther brought sanity to it all with her smart self and her calm, measured, and caring soul. She had a clear vision of what she wanted the bakery to become, the community meeting place it is today, and she was methodical and patient with all of us on our way to making that vision a reality. Esther touched so many lives through her decade of owning Bernice's. I'm just curious how many of you here today have a connection with Esther through the bakery, either as an employee or a customer or a vendor. Can we just see a show of hands? You are all an important part of Esther's legacy. She created community through her love of feeding people. Esther decided it was time to leave the bakery when the love of her life, Isabella, appeared. But creating community was something that Esther would do for the rest of her life. Thank you, Esther, for bringing us all together.
I'd like to introduce Esther's legacy, Isabella Johnson, for a few words.
We actually enjoy 1%. We enjoy and guarantee tree and 1, 2, 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 157 158 159 160 present every loving each other and yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Miri Disney Faller and I'm here to represent the Arbonne community that loved Esther so much. If my Arbonne sisters would come up here to join me, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. It is clear that Esther touched many lives, and I was fortunate enough to be her friend for the last 4.5 years, which doesn't seem like very long compared to most of you in this room. But as she did with everyone, she made a huge impact on my life. I met her while attending a business women's symposium here in Missoula, and I was there to promote my physical therapy practice as a female entrepreneur. And I entered the vendor area of that conference and ran into this beautiful, smiling, radiant woman who was wearing a beautiful scarf on her hairless head, but showed no other signs of her personal battle. She was warm, inviting, and we struck up a conversation about Arbonne. We developed an instant connection over the topic of nutrition, and I found myself wanting to visit with her more. We exchanged our information. She contacted me later and asked me to host an event for her, and I did. I invited my closest family and friends. And as she began her presentation in front of all of these people that were so important to me, she asked, if time and money were no object, what would you do tomorrow? I later learned that this was not part of the original script, but something Esther had asked because she wanted to encourage us to dream, to think outside the box about our greater purpose, and more importantly, for us to give some consideration to what more we could do to give in this world. I also know that she asked because she genuinely cared about each person's answer. That was who she was to the core, genuine, authentic, and fully engaged in every conversation she had with others. She was a big reason why I joined Arbonne, and I quickly learned that she would be the perfect ambassador for this great company of giving, compassionate leaders who fostered a loving, supportive community of people that experienced more gratification by seeing others succeed than they did in their own success. That was so refreshing and something I really wanted to be a part of. While Esther and I connected initially because of our interest in nutrition, we later found we had similar views on how to raise children and motivate them to care about their own health and nutrition too. I often marveled at the way she parented Isabella with a steadfast love all wrapped up in a daily schedule of school, physical activities including gymnastics, swimming and dance, speech therapy appointments, nutritious meals, and a consistent bedtime routine of doing their beauties. I watched her parent from afar in public, allowing Isabella to explore and converse with strangers about many things, but mostly, do you have a husband? Do you have a dog? How many kids do you have?
I have one.
Not only did it give her confidence in public, but in many ways, it taught other members of this community how to engage with a child with special needs. And I learned by observing them together that their love for each other was limitless, as was their belief in what the other could achieve. Esther once shared with me that her grand vision was to be able to walk the stage at our global training conference as a regional vice president, and then national vice president with Isabella by her side as a member of her team. I was really looking forward to that day as well. I think I loved her most because she was like the big sister I never had. We would have long conversations about our lives, our hopes and our dreams and our struggles. We would help each other pick out the perfect shoes or the right earrings for our outfits in Vegas. And I challenged her often to overcome some of her fears as well. And after many drinks of courage, I encouraged her to zip line down Fremont Street with me, screaming and laughing all the way. It was the perfect relationship without all the bickering. But for all her dreams and visions, it was her belief in others that was the most remarkable quality she possessed. She did not discriminate based on where you came from, what you had been through, or what you were currently doing. She saw no limits to what you could ultimately achieve. I remember in the days after she had passed that I felt this overwhelming urge to find one of her handwritten cards she had given to me. She was always giving me cards. At monthly meetings, on our trips to Las Vegas, she would even pop some in the mail from time to time just to let me know how she felt about me. But for whatever reason that weekend, I could not find any one of her cards, and a panic swept over me, worried that somehow, some way, I had disposed of them. The following Monday, after having a horrible case of the Mondays and not wanting to go on with my day, I picked up a large stack of things off my coffee table. And there it was, buried in the stack of papers, a small yellow envelope, peeking out of the stack, with her beautiful handwriting on the front and my name. I opened it up to find this sunshine on the front and these sentiments on the inside. This is probably the last card that she had given me before her death, and she'd given it to me on our last trip to Las Vegas. My sunshine, my amazing friend, my amazing ace. You teach me so much. You show me your tenacity. You embody caring. And you are the embodiment of having everything you need. I see such great achievement for you. And I hope you believe you can as much as I know you can. I believe you. I honor you. I love you. Esther. I share this personal gift with you because it is so beautifully illustrates who she was in my life and in the lives of so many others here on the stage with me today. She was the best cheerleader, support system, voice of reason, confidence builder, listener, encourager, and confidant that I've ever had the pleasure of knowing. And while I am saddened knowing that I will no longer be able to shoot her a quick text or call her to ask her for her loving advice, I am comforted knowing that for a short time, I had it all and more. So my challenge for everyone here today who is touched by her in some way is to carry on her beautiful legacy. Be the light in someone's darkest days. Be the laughter in someone's saddest moments. And be the love in someone's loneliest hours. And lastly, keep dreaming. Because then, and only then, will you truly believe that anything is possible. That is what Esther did for me, and so many others standing here with me on the stage today. And there is no greater gift than that. Happy birthday, Esther. We love and miss you.
For Esther. It struck me when I was with my brother and my sisters and we were talking about Esther and sharing memories and feelings about Esther and looking at pictures and telling stories that just nothing about that seemed to be enough to really capture what it was that was her. We were trying to describe who she was, and it's just one of those things where there's so much more than whatever you can put in words. And so it started out as a pop dance tune because that's what I thought she liked. Well, I know that's what she likes, but you know. And fortunately, my Hannah and Valerie helped me understand that I needed to probably pare it down and make it fit more, you know, what I was trying to describe, just this feeling of searching for that place where I could be with her still, just like we all are experiencing, I think. So anyway, just wanted to say that about the song. Thanks.
Esther Chessin was a community builder, and she loved Missoula so very much. My name is Linda, and I was lucky to have Esther in my life for most of my adult life. When I came to work on behalf of downtown Missoula, Esther was my mentor and connector. She was a savvy business owner, as you've heard. As the owner of Bernice's, she saw herself as the caretaker of that sacred place at the heart of our community. Upon her departure from the bakery, she passed the reins to Christine and Marco, knowing they would savor and protect the culture of Missoula's beloved Bernice's. Esther had a very successful career with Arbonne. She pampered hundreds, probably thousands of people with lotions and oils, foot baths, and facials. Last spring, she broke her wrist while we were hiking up near Sealy Lake. But instead of returning home to Missoula for an x-ray, she made sure all the ladies in the group were treated to a foot soak. She was a warrior. Esther was a wonderful sister and friend. Because of her love for others, Isabella has aunties all over Missoula and beyond. Esther was an incredible mother. Once we shared our longing to have children years before we found our life partners. Later on, we shared the joy and wonder of our special needs children. She loved and continues to love Isabella more than life itself. And she knew every moment with her daughter was precious and sacred. Esther was a cancer survivor, thriver, liver, and lover. She exhibited strength and grace with incredible humor and respect for the disease. She survived and lived with cancer. She cared for others with the disease. Like many, she was my first phone call when I was diagnosed, and she spent time with my family after my surgery. She helped create a coalition to support women going through cancer treatment and transitioning to the new life after cancer. Women like me and others with silver linings. She offered comfort, hope, courage, and leadership. Esther was a visionary and could see many of the positive things that come from having cancer. Sounds weird, I know. But I'm talking about friends and knowledge, a love for life and helping others, and quality, organic, gluten-free, and dairy-free food. Esther was totally a foodie. She and Isabella spent many a Sunday at the Good Food Store, and she exposed many of us to incredible recipes and resources. She loved to host her friends at the Loft and always made that place feel like home. Many of us were there with her during her final evening on this earth. We had gathered to watch a movie about a team of cancer survivors who built lifelong friendships through dragon boat racing. We were preparing to compete up at Flathead Lake just 4 days later. That evening, Esther was glowing. She was incredibly beautiful with her curly Q hair and a yellow jacket that was pure sunshine. She gave everyone the biggest hug that night. What an honor it was to share the evening with her. Just last weekend, 25,000 people were gathered at Washington Grizzly Stadium for football, but many of us were thinking about Esther. It was the pink game, which some of us don't really love, but it was the one in which we celebrate cancer survivors and remember those we've lost. While Esther wasn't a huge football fan, she would have loved the exercise in seeing the light. And I would like for us to replicate that today. Pull out your cell phones. Today, pull out your cell phones and turn on your flashlights. Let us see the light that shines like the stars at night. Esther will always be there. Show me your light. Everyone, look at that. Esther's spirit remains with us, and her bright light will continue to shine as she passes through the gates of heaven and connects with her new community. We are all better people for having known Esther Chessin. Let us carry forth her love for life, for her family, and for her community. Rest in peace, old friend. You lived a beautiful life. We will see you on the other side.
And this is my husband, Chris. My relationship with Esther began as an Arbonne sideline sister, but our friendship really began to grow when Esther and Amy Hetzler volunteered to bartend at our wedding. I wasn't super close with either of them at that time, and I remember being so blown away by their kindness and generosity. Over the years, Esther became one of my dearest friends, somebody who I didn't just work with, we did life together. Hikes, hot yoga, concerts, domestic divas cleaning, clothing and shoe swaps, health coaching, and lots of conversation. We were on a cleaning job for some lovely clients one time, just chatting away, and our client asked us to quiet down. We felt like kids who had just been scolded, so we made faces and giggled. I cherished that time with Esther every week. Esther was an easy person to love. She made time for people and breathed life into them. She sent letters, notes, and voicemails filled with words of love and appreciation to so many people in her life. She built people up. She wasn't afraid of the bold ask, and she didn't judge. She loved with her whole heart. Esther was one of my go-to girls, one of a small circle of women I knew I could always count on. The world has felt very quiet to me since she left us. As I think about moving forward without her, I think about carrying the best parts of her with me. She was so full of light and love, even when she was in the fight of her life, strong and resilient, never complaining. She made time for people and seized opportunities for fun and adventure, for friendship and family. She made time for the lake and river with Isabella. She was incredibly generous, playful, and silly. Everything she did with so much love, and she picked up friends along the way. I've heard from so many people over the past few weeks who met Esther in a park or on the trail. She was a connector. Last year on this date, Esther and I went to the Grizz game. We had a blast, talking and laughing, taking selfies, and watching a little bit of the game. Later on that evening, we met Chris, Mary, and Molly at the Silk Road for a late birthday dinner. It was their last night in business. We had the back room to ourselves, and we had the most epic dinner. 3 hours of eating and drinking and laughing, lots of laughing. The champagne started to flow, and we toasted to the Silk Road. We toasted to Esther. May tonight be another epic celebration of our dear Esther.
We've heard from a lot of people in various chapters of Esther's life, certainly not all of them. We're not going to pass the microphone around now. Sorry, everybody. We are going to conclude the presentation now and start the dance party. So if you'd like to join me on stage to dance, Jana Van Whitbeck, I'm counting on you. And all of you Arbonne Queens, and everyone who wants to dance up here. I want to remind you that you can add to the shrine or go to the shrine building workshop that Festival of the Dead is having tonight starting at 7. We have the memory bowls, which are for the family. If you jot down a quick story or a memory that you can share, they would like that and appreciate that. We also have the Isabella Johnson Fund envelopes for the Missoula Federal Credit Union. They're in a basket back there. You can take one, deliver it, or mail it, or leave it. Tip your bartenders. Okay, that's my list of housekeeping. A short list of thank you. Nick Chikota for the Roma, for the fantastic Hostess, providing that you've given us the AV and the bartenders and the space, it's such a great deal. Bernice's Bakery, Vega Pizza, and the Marshall family. Ray Risho, Montana Party Time, Eileen Chantos, Nancy Ball, Tom Catmull, the Silver Linings Group, and all of you for coming. Thanks so much.